Good evening. We're in Studio 6F today, and it's my pleasure and true honor to be speaking with a real World War II combat infantry hero, Mr. John J. Jeckovich. How are you doing today?
Very good, thank you.
You're looking well. You're looking chipper. Did you have a good dinner?
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
I'm still full from what we had yesterday.
Oh, really?
There was a lot of food.
Well, I know you had a big feast the other day, Memorial Day, and which is a great time to remember those that served and those that didn't make it. I see you got the big American flag as your backdrop today, and 3 or 4 tiny American flags. That looks nice. That really looks nice. Today is Friday, May 23rd, 2025, and we're talking about Mr. Jeckovich's book. It's the second time around. We already went through it one time. What's the book pages? How many?
6 to 8 for that.
Jeez. I know you didn't have Google, and I know you didn't have a laptop or a computer. You wrote it out by hand, right?
Yeah, yellow pages.
On little yellow tablets, right?
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Are you working on another one?
No, it's got notes on it there.
Wow. This is our 576th podcast. We've been doing this for 2.5, maybe 3 years. And we're on the second time around in this book. We're on chapter 6, and this is what he's on furlough and saying goodbye to Anne. So, second time around, and we're going to keep doing it until the wheels fall off. We're here to the end, and we're not going to stop reading these books. You enjoy reading it, right?
Oh yeah.
It gives you a nice time talking. Anyone has any questions about your life or World War II, they've been texting us on a regular basis, and it turns out really nice. It's something to look forward to, and you're giving out great information. I should say about your book, and today we had 17 or 18 questions. How much is your book, and where can we buy it?
You can't buy it.
The book is not about money. Mr. Jeckovich has plenty. He doesn't need more. This book is about giving the younger generation a better life. Give them simple tips that might make their life easier. For example, tips on marriage. I think Mr. Jeckovich is an absolute expert on marriage. How many years were you married?
69.
What can I say? Well, if you have any questions, you ask this guy. We had over 90,000 divorces in Florida last year. Why do you think?
Money.
Yeah. It's too hard for younger people to make a living. They each have to work 2 or 3 jobs, and still they can't do it. Houses are too much. Taxes are out of control. It's hard. Back in the simpler times when Mr. Jeckovich was born in 1925, gasoline was only 7 cents a gallon. You could buy a beautiful house for a couple $1,000. Cars were $400 or $500. Weren't you guys pretty excited when you bought your first house at 3063 Orleans Avenue?
Yeah.
And who'd you pay the mortgage to every month?
Belvin.
Mr. Belvin, yeah. This is a realistic amount. When Mr. Jeckovich's mother and father bought that house, it wasn't very expensive, and the monthly payments were like $47.50, and he simply went in cash and paid it, right?
Yeah.
There wasn't much going on with checks, and not even a charge card was even thought of that.
Yeah.
So simpler times, beautiful times. So we're going to continue to read the book. We're going to continue to interview Mr. Jeckovich, and we're here until the wheels fall off. We're not going away. Mr. Jeckovich was from Company H, the 2nd Battalion of the 291st Regiment of the 75th Infantry Division of the U.S. Army during World War II. Mr. Jeckovich lives by the motto, yesterday is history, and tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. Today's a gift, right?
All right.
Yeah, listen, boys and girls, it's a very short dance around the sun. So enjoy every day. I'll give you a quick example. Mr. Jeckovich said he blinked his eyes at 20 years old, and now he's 100.
Yeah.
Mr. Jeckovich being born in 1925, and now we're in 2025, he's knocking on the door of 100. It's knocking.
Yeah, eternity, yeah.
This guy's in perfect health, sharp as a tack, never took a prescription, never took a vitamin, jogged for 80 years. Did you smoke?
No,
Did you drink?
no,
100 years old,
yeah.
a great lifestyle, great health. The only thing they gave out was his knees. He had a trade-off. Jog for 80 years for health, but your knees get worn out really bad after 80 years of hitting the pavement.
And
So-
also World War II didn't help you.
In World War II, oh yeah, I should mention the injuries he went through. Mr. Jeckovich was just a teenager when he was drafted into World War II. He was beat up, shot in the shoulder by a sniper, stabbed, bombed,
Lost a hip.
lost a hip, trench foot, frostbite. But let me explain to you about the bomb. The bomb was what they call as a dirty bomb. What is that?
It's full of nails, screwdrivers, and everything else.
Yeah, the sick bastard Nazis, they would make a device of a bomb, and they'd put like tools in it, razor blade, nails, anything that could do maximum damage. And to this day, Mr. Jeckovich still wears that shrapnel in his legs, right now. But Memorial Day, we're certainly honoring his foxhole buddy. He was another teenage boy. His name was Donald Lape. Mr. Jeckovich was street smart because he just started taking care of his father at 11 years old, so he had a lot of responsibilities. But if you weren't street smart during World War II, it didn't turn out good. Donald Lape was in the same foxhole. Mr. Jeckovich kept telling him, stay low, stay low. He did it. Actually, that same dirty bomb that's keeping metal in this man's leg took off Donald Lape's head. The only thing that was left was his glasses hanging on his ears. Mr. Jeckovich removed them, removed one dog tag number, and sent a nice letter to his mother and father. So we're praying for Donald Lape that he's in pure eternity and happiness. He certainly died as a hero during World War II. Yeah, eternal happiness for Donald Lape. And ironic story goes further. Donald Lape's younger brother ended up retiring in Florida, only 1 block away from Mr. Jeckovich. How ironic. We didn't find out till it's too late. His younger brother just passed away. But he was there for 25 years. I wish we would have knew, because Mr. Jeckovich would love to make friends with Donald Lape's younger brother and talk about some of the memories of his brother. But that's just the way it went. It didn't work out too good. It didn't work out too good. So during World War II, Mr. Jeckovich received the Bronze Star Medal, the Purple Heart, the Good Conduct Medal, the American Campaign Medal, European, African, Middle Eastern Campaign Medal with 3 Bronze Service Stars, World War II Victory Medal, Army of Occupation Medal with Germany clasp, Combat Infantry Badge, Sharpshooter Badge with carbine, Pistol and Machine Gun Bars, Marksman Badge with Rifle Bar, and Honorable Service Lapel Button World War II. So he left highly decorated. You know, we haven't caught up too much on the book the second time around, but I think since we still have plenty of time, we should put a few pages under our belt.
Okay.
So, yeah, because we haven't been paying attention to this reading, and I think we should right now. At least we'll get 2 pages under our belt. Okay, we're at Home on Furlough, Farewell to Anne, page 127. But before I open up the laptop, I need the passcode.
42965.
And that's your dog tag number,
Yeah.
right? Wow. Okay. Now this is just to catch up with it. Mr. Jeckovich is home at Niagara Falls, New York on furlough, and he's saying farewell to Ann, and she lived in Owensboro, Kentucky, and he's still on leave, and he's trying to work it out so he can at least spend a few weeks with Ann, going back from the Falls to Owensboro, Kentucky. So let's see what happens. For a moment I thought we had been cut off. Now you're talking to Ann on the phone. Since I did not hear anything at the other end of the line. Several seconds later, Ann asked when I decided that. I quickly retorted that it was shortly after I left for furlough. She was having a difficult time restraining herself as we talked, and I could not perceive that she was totally taken by surprise by my revelation, but not quite to know how to respond to it, and having a formidable task attempting to grasp the significance of all that I was stating. I told her that I was leaving here, which is Niagara Falls, Sunday afternoon, and I'd be in Owensboro that time Tuesday afternoon. That's a lot of traveling time.
Yeah.
Holy hell, 2 solid days. I would get settled in at the Weatherby's. What was Weatherby's? Berries.
Weatherby?
Weatherberries.
Weatherbase?
At Owensboro, Weatherberries. Was that like a apartment building or
It was a part of the South.
like a bed and breakfast?
Yeah.
And wait there until she got out of school at 20-30 hours. She regained her composure, and with a heartfelt tenderness that she would be at the bus station to meet me, or better yet, she would drive up north to pick me up on Sunday. You don't want her driving to Niagara Falls.
No.
That's too much. With the latest remark of Ann's, I was again moved and affected by her sincerity and concern for me. I remarked that it was not a good idea to drive all the way up here, although the idea appealed to me. I said I missed her, and I was sorry I had bundled everything, and we had a lot to talk over. She was mostly silent as I spoke, but I knew that she was trying to control her emotions, as was I. We both were not having too much success alleviating the tension. Ann said in a half whisper that she had missed me greatly and did not know what to do with herself when she was not at work or school. She was really excited at the thought of my coming to Owensboro, and that she would get to see me almost a week at one time. That was as long as you'd ever see her, be a week at one time.
Yeah.
She became quiet again, and I said that she loved me and was looking forward to next Tuesday, I said, with much more fervor and tenderness, that I loved her with all my being and wanted to see her almost every waking minute. I became choked up with my feelings towards her and began to blabber incoherently. Finally, I said, I love you, and hung up the phone. I was visibly moved with my phone conversation with Ann, and I wanted to walk some more before I went back home. I thought of what I was getting myself into, what I was getting Ann's hopes up to, and what early marriage and engagement. When I told myself to stop these thoughts and just take one step at a time. When I reached home, both Mother and Sally were asleep. So you're home on this furlough in Niagara Falls, New York, and your mother and Sally are generally not there.
Yeah.
It's an empty house,
Yeah.
almost all the time. We're asleep, and I quietly prepared for bed. As I lay on the couch, I thought about Ann's reaction on the phone, and I took great comfort in it. Here was someone who cared enough about me to get emotionally involved, something I did not experience most of the time from my own family. I was pleased that I was going to spend some real time with Ann before we shipped out. Shipped out means you're going to Europe, right?
Yeah. Overseas, yeah.
That'd be the war.
Yeah.
the training is over with. Combat infantry, front line. I was pleased that we're going to spend some real time with Ann before we shipped out, and that I would cherish as much affection and tender memories when I would be thousands of miles away. Yeah, minutes please. From her.
14.
That Saturday, before the Sunday I was to leave, Mother fussed to prepare me a sumptuous meal for the three of us. It was my favorite. At least Mother thought so. Spaghetti with sauce. Oh man, your mother's a hell of a cook.
Yeah.
Spaghetti with sauce that had simmered most of the day. That's what I like. When your mother cooked, that food simmered all day.
Yeah.
Now what do most people today? Pop it in a microwave.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing simmered all day.
Yeah.
A hearty green salad and delicious rolls. How's your mother at making rolls?
She was very good. You could smell the whole house up there.
Yeah. When she was alone, knew how to bake. Very delectable. Flavorful cream layered the cake to dessert. So she made you the cake too.
Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. I was pleased that she took great delight in doing it, but also sensed there was a smattering of relief that I'd be leaving shortly. Mother did not like to cater to anyone, so your mother didn't like to cater,
Yeah.
right? Especially when there was no apparent reward in it for her. She knew that I would be gone again and that she would have to shoulder all the responsibility and work that I had undertaken when I was at home permanently. As it was now, with all of us away, she only had to think of herself and Sally, and life was comparably simpler. I sensed that she had gotten accustomed to this arrangement and rather approved of it. I decided to leave Sunday morning when they were both going to church. What church they go to?
Holy Trinity. No, Holy Rosary.
Our Lady of Rosary. When they're both going to church. That way we could leave the same time and there'd be less confusion and entanglements. I had collected all my belongings and stored them in my overnight bag, and I had put on one of my uniforms. So in order for you to travel in public, wearing that uniform was a must.
Yeah.
You couldn't go in civilian clothes.
No.
What happens if the
Well, the gig puts that relief or something.
MPs would pick you up?
Yeah.
So it's important you stay in the
But as for a pass, you got the pass, but it said, what are you doing in civilian clothes?
Yeah. So you'd be in big trouble.
Yeah.
As they prepared to leave for church, I kissed Mother and Sally goodbye and said I would write them as soon as I got back to camp. Mother, I thought, wiped a tear from her eye and said for me to take care of myself and let her know beforehand the next time I came home. On this furlough, you just showed up, right?
Yeah.
They were both uncomfortable in the length of time it took to say farewells. I also wanted to leave as soon as possible. They then walked up to the street in the direction of the church as I walked in the opposite direction to the bus station. So your mother and Sally are going one way and you're going the other way.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what happens here. Neither my mother nor Sally turned around to look back at the entire block they were in each other's view. I turned and looked back several times before they were around the corner and out of sight. I would not see my mother and sister again for several years, nor would either write to me that often during that time. So they weren't much on writing, right?
Yeah.
But you sent your mother a lot of V-mails.
Yeah. All 150.
150, yeah. I waited several hours for the train departure. As I sat there, I was greeted with the same familiar sights. People were saying goodbye to their loved ones, their husbands, or sweethearts. I once again had no one to say goodbye to. Did your mother know that you're going to see Ann, or did she thought you were going back to the military?
Yeah.
What did she think?
Well, she didn't follow what I was doing. She didn't actually know what I was doing.
I felt lonely, but worse yet, I was feeling I had
10.
I felt lonely, but worse yet, it was a feeling I had felt too often in my young life, a life that would be snuffed out with no other feeling felt but that of loneliness. What is it about made me a lonely, despondent figure, not loved by anyone, least of all, my own flesh and blood? Lord knows I did not blame my parents. They had many problems which left very little room for anything else or anyone. To my mother, it was a daily struggle for survival and permanence, which, with no one to share her fears and doubts. My sister must have given her some small measure of support and comfort, and it seemed fairly close during this time I was home. My mother was probably apprehensive about the relationship also, since I had left her under different circumstances. What would be my sister's outlook several years from now? Naturally, she would want to lead her own life, thereby leaving my mother alone once again. But it didn't turn out that way. You met Delphine after the war.
Yeah.
Delphine, you married, you lived upstairs, mother lived downstairs, and your mother's loneliness was gone.
Yeah.
Because Delphine took her shopping to church.
Yeah. After she learned to drive.
Everything under the sun. You're like two peas in a pod. Let's see where we're at here. The train finally departed the station, and as before, there were more servicemen than civilians on board. Fortunately, I was lucky again to get a quiet compartment with no loud gambling or parties going on. The train compartment was mostly made up of sailors on their way back to bases and camps in Texas and Florida. As they seemed acquainted with one another, I did not join in the conversation, but looked out the window at the scenery going by. I soon fell asleep and slept soundly for several hours until we reached Cleveland. So you remember Cleveland, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. The journey back to Owensboro would be the opposite trip up. It would be Buffalo, Erie to Cleveland, and Columbus, a short layover in Cincinnati, onto Louisville, Evansville, and finally the bus trip to Owensboro.
Yeah.
So you had to get the train off in Evansville and then get on a bus to Owensboro.
Yeah.
Was that a Greyhound bus?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be damned. Returning from the snack bar, I once again settled down in my seat and prepared for the long night ahead. It would be dark shortly, and it would not be the distractions of the scenery going by, time would drag. The only alternatives were to read or join in the conversation with someone or just sleep. I began to read my paper books, so you always keep paper books with you, right?
Yeah.
I began to read my paper books I bought at Mario's. Did I just show you a picture of Mario's
Yeah.
yesterday? On my way from the cleaners the last time I was on Pine Avenue. Although the book would be interesting under different circumstances, I soon lost my sense of concentration and put it back in my overnight bag. Well, that was very understandable. The motion of the train made me sleepy, and the overhead lights were off, which made it conducive to sleep. I woke him briefly several times during the night, but each time managed to fall asleep again. A little after daylight, I awoke and again looked out the window at the sunrise. We would be shortly coming into Cincinnati for a brief stop, and then on to Louisville and Owensboro. The stop at Cincinnati was much shorter than the stop we encountered on a previous trip. I had no sooner got off the train to stretch my legs than the conductor was shouting everyone back on board.
Yeah.
You think a lot of soldiers missed the trains?
Yeah.
Yeah. We passed Louisville a little after 1200 hours, and then we got closer to Evansville. That's where your base was, right?
Yeah.
Evansville, Indiana. I began to think how Ann would look and react to me. I knew her greeting would be warm, but as usual, we'd have a sense of each other's true feelings. The train pulled into Evansville Station. I immediately began to look for the local bus to Owensboro. I decided I could take a cab to Weatherbury's bed and breakfast and check in the shower, shave, and get back to the station to wait for Ann's arrival. The bus trip from Evansville to Owensboro was familiar and heartwarming. I felt in a way that I was returning home. So you felt that was more of a home than Niagara Falls?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Minutes, please. As the bus drove into the station and stopped,
Let's see. 4.
okay, as the bus drove into the station and stopped, I felt good at being here, as if I belonged. I got off the bus and headed for the cab, and I'd taken a few steps when someone called my name. It was Ann.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. We're gonna ask you some questions, and tomorrow we'll pick up on that.
All right.
That'll be a fresh start. So, you felt like, Owensboro felt like more home than Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
But eventually, you never went back to Owensboro,
No.
and you spent almost the remainder of your life in Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
Yeah. You had a nice house at 3063 Orleans Avenue.
Well, that was nice town then.
How is it now?
Well, there's a dump that's closed up.
It's all bad.
Yeah.
So you never consider moving back?
No, and there's nothing there.
Wow. Wow. The scenery of that train ride must have been nice. There must have been a lot of woods and undeveloped land.
Yeah.
I know for a fact those tracks are still there. They're still running, but now it's like a concrete jungle. Everywhere you look, there's buildings where it used to
Yeah. Forest and that, yeah.
be. Yeah. Minutes, please. Wow.
2.
Huh?
2.5.
So we're gonna pick up tomorrow's reading when you just met Ann back at the bus stop. But she was willing to come to Niagara Falls and pick you up, right?
Yeah.
That was very nice of her. That was very nice. And then you had 2 weeks there, and then from there, you went into the war and you never came back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Well, I came back.
Oh, you
To
came back.
Owensboro?
I mean, I came back from the war. I didn't
No, I meant you never came back to Owensboro.
You never came back to Owensboro.
No, I meant you never came back to Owensboro. But Mr.
Thank
Jeckovich,
God I came back.
shh, Mr. Jeckovich did talk to Ann 80 years later, which was so beautiful, right?
Oh, yeah,
How'd that
she's
phone
real
conversation
feeble, yeah. Real feeble, yeah.
She was what?
She's feeble, yeah.
But 80 years later, you kept your promise to
She
call her.
picked the phone up right away, yeah.
Yeah, she picked up the phone. That's really
Yeah.
absolutely amazing, Mr. Jeckovich. Time?
I don't think she ever married.
No?
I
So you
don't know.
called
I
her
don't-
80 years later. She actually picked up the phone, and she's still in Owensboro, Kentucky.
Yeah.
What did you do after that conversation?
Well, I took a picture off the wall and put my mother up there.
Yeah, and now we're getting to the book, Their Mother's Son.
Yeah.
He promised Ann in 1944 that I would call you. Unfortunately, it took 80 years for Mr. Jeckovich to call.
Yeah.
That's a long ass time. But he did call her 80 years later. She's still in Owensboro, and she answered the phone.
Yeah, I think she lived alone too.
Yeah, how'd the conversation go? Tell us.
Well, she was feeble, and she couldn't understand who I was talking. She was talking to her.
So possibly Alzheimer?
Yeah. No.
She was in her 90s.
Yeah.
So you took down her picture from your office that sat there for 80 years. And then on the wall it was all yellowed because it's been there for so long. And then what did you do with her picture?
I wrapped up in the towel and put it in the filing cabinet.
And whose picture did you put in its place?
Huh? My mother's there.
My mother's. There it is. You got back to the book.
Yeah.
Their Mother's Son. Minutes?
Yeah, 28 seconds.
That's a beautiful story, Mr. Jeckovich. But I should say, you kept your damn promise. You told her in 1940s that you'd call her. Who the hell knew it'd take 80 years for you to pick up the phone? But you did.
Yeah.
You did. That's a good part of the story.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And she answered the phone.
Yeah, it was
What's the chances? Huh?
Yeah.
That was a beautiful story, Mr.
I bet
Jeckovich.
you